Welcome students, welcome to our channel Rise and Shine. And this is a new video series on grass design pattern. That is general responsibility assignment software principles. And this is the very first session in this video series, which is a warm-up session for this grass principles. So in this session, we are going to see first the review of whole software system development and particularly what is the analysis phase and what is the output of that analysis phase. Then we are going to discuss the need of design principles in design phase of software development. Then actually we are going to see what you mean by design phase and how this design phase is responsibility driven. That is, whatever the responsibilities we have find out in analysis that drives this design phase. Next, we are going to discuss what is responsibility and the types of responsibility. And finally, we conclude this session with difference between the responsibilities and method within a class. So all of you know the software development life cycle. Very first phase is analysis, where we are creating the use cases, use case specifications, a domain model, some sequence diagram and some activity diagrams. That is, we are doing or we are finding out here the what things in a software. We are concentrating on what rather than how. Next phase is a design, where we are developing a detailed class model. We are designing the methods within the class. Then we are developing a package diagram or package model. We are designing databases, UI, and an open or closed prototype we are creating in this design phase. And then lastly, there is an implementation. Here we are implementing the code. We are doing the different type of testing, such as unit testing and integration testing. And according to that test result, we are doing some code refactoring. And finally, we are deploying the code at client side. So the summary of this software development is analysis via design towards implementation. So this is the review of analysis phase diagrammatically. That is, we are finding out these many artifacts in analysis phase, such as domain model, use case text, then operation contract, some system sequence diagrams, that is sequence diagram at system level. So we are doing all these things in analysis phase. And these artifacts created during the analysis become the input to the object design or to the design phase. That is, we are finding out the artifacts such as use case and use case text or specification. We are using this text to realize or to design the use cases. Then whatever the supplementary specification, this define the non-functional goals and that we need to be satisfied by the objects. Then some system sequence diagrams are created in analysis phase, and these SSDs become the starting message in the designing the interaction diagrams during the design phase. We are finding out the glossaries, then we are finding out developing some operation contracts, and we are developing basically a domain model which contains the real-time entities in a software and some of the attributes of that entities. So we are finding out the domain model also. So after completing analysis, the design phase starts. And the main task of this design phase is to develop a detailed class diagram and methods designing within that class using some interaction diagram. That is a very main task of this design phase, is designing the detailed class diagram along with the methods within that class. And while developing this detailed class model, we are assigning the whatever the responsibilities we have find out in analysis phase to a single class or some collection of collaborating classes. So developing detailed class model means what? That is assigning the responsibility, designing the methods within that class thoroughly in detailed manner using some interaction diagrams. So during this design phase, we mainly think about how to assign responsibility to a single object or some collaborating responsible object. That is, this whole design phase is driven by this assignment of responsibility to particular classes or to particular group of classes. This design phase is thus the overall approach of doing the object-oriented design modeling based on the assignment of responsibility to the classes. Means design phase of software development is mainly responsibility driven, and success of this design phase is heavily dependent upon how we are doing this assignment. That is how correctly, how appropriately we are assigning the responsibility to particular class or some group of classes. And once your design is perfect, your software become more maintainable. So during this object-oriented design, various design principles are applied to make resultant software more maintainable, more flexible, more expandable according to change in business need or change in business logic. That is, there are some principles which should be or which must be followed in such design phase so that the resultant software become more maintainable. And one of such design principles are GRASP. That is, General Responsibility Assignment Software Principles. And this GRASP pattern is our focus in this video series. That is, in this series we are going to learn what are these GRASP patterns and how they are useful in the assignment of responsibility to particular classes. So now we come to the point that then what do you mean by these responsibilities? So responsibilities are the things or responsibilities of objects is referred to its obligation or behavior, the behavior of object in terms of role. That is why all of you know the software objects are having some roles, some responsibilities, and to fulfill that responsibilities they have to collaborate with some another classes or some another objects. And responsibilities are assigned to the classes of object during the design phase. So design phase is, again I am saying, it is totally responsibility driven. What are the responsibilities and how we are assigning to particular classes or some group of classes. So basically an object has two types of responsibility. Number one is doing responsibility and number two is knowing responsibility. So what do you mean by doing responsibilities? Doing responsibility means doing something itself. That is, objects are doing something itself, such as creating an object or doing some calculation or initiating some action on another objects or controlling and coordinating the activities of other objects. So such a type of responsibilities are called as doing responsibility. And knowing responsibility means knowing about some data, knowing about some related data, some encapsulated data, or knowing about the things it can drive or to calculate something. So, or to do that calculation, collecting the data, knowing the data is called a knowing responsibility. Thus, each and every object in our systems are having these two types of responsibility. We will see these two types of responsibility more thoroughly by example. Consider we are designing some point of sale software, that is POS type of software, which is installed at exit point of any supermarket. So doing responsibilities of sales object in this POS software is responsibility to calculate the total sale is a doing responsibility. Responsibility to know the line of item of the sale, generate a receipt of sale, or responsibility to handle a new sale. All these are the doing responsibility. And knowing responsibility, suppose a sale class has a time attribute in the domain model, and we then might assign to the software sale class a responsibility of knowing that time of sale or date of sale or time stamp of sale. So this is a knowing responsibility of sale object. So these are the doing and knowing responsibility of sale object. Now you are thinking that responsibility means method within a class. But my student, this is not the case. Responsibility and methods are totally different thing. How it is? That is, responsibility and method are not same. Method fulfills the responsibility. That is, whatever the method we are designing within a class, we have to design that method in such a way that they should fulfill that responsibility. And the translation of responsibility into classes or the method within the classes is influenced by how responsibility is big or small. How that responsibility is big or small. That is the granularity of responsibility. The big responsibility may be translated to the 100 of classes or the method within that classes. For example, responsibility to provide the access to relational databases. That is, to fulfill this responsibility, we have to write the 4 or 5 methods within different classes. Then and then this responsibility get fulfilled. Our next is the small responsibility might take just a single method of a class. For example, responsibility to create a sales object. That is, this responsibility is fulfilled by only one class by writing a constructor in that sales class or any class. So in this way, depending upon how that responsibility is big or small, we have to write the methods. That is, the translation is totally depend upon the granularity of that responsibility. But responsibility and method is not same thing. So summary of this session is the object-oriented design is nothing but carefully assigning the responsibility to the classes of object and creating a community of collaborative responsible objects. Or while doing this thing, GRASS will be helpful here to do the correct assignment of the responsibility to appropriate classes. These principles play a very important role in the design phase of software development. And if we are following such a principle, GRASS, it leads to flexible and extensible design which accommodate the changes in business logic. So from next session, we will see thoroughly what do you mean by these GRASS and how they are helpful in assigning the responsibilities to appropriate classes. So hope guys, this session is informative for you people. Kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel Rise and Shine. Keep watching, keep learning. Till then, bye bye.